Hi, everyone. My name is Tracy Bazo, and I'm a registered social service worker, and I'm going to be doing a presentation for you today on self-esteem and really how to build your self-esteem, because I think it's something that many of us struggle with. So let me just get into this here. Perfect. All right, so building self-esteem, like I said, my name is Tracy Bazo. So first of all, what is self-esteem? We often hear people talk about it. We hear people say, I have high self-esteem or I have low self-esteem. But really, what is self-esteem? What does it mean? So self-esteem is the sum of all of your thoughts and feelings about who you are as an individual, as a person, as a community member, all of those things. Good self-esteem is treating yourself with respect and love, and is really important to your overall well-being, your wellness, and your mental health. So when people have lower self-esteem, they tend to have lower view of themselves and lower scores when we're scoring people's mental wellness and mental health. So if you have lower self-esteem, you tend to also have different mental illnesses or mental health conditions as well. So in today's kind of conversation, I'm going to be talking about these different ways to build self-esteem. So I'm going to talk about having positive self-talk, doing affirmations, mindfulness, self-reflection, self-care, setting goals, and making sure that you have good friends and people that you're surrounded with that are there to support you as well. So the first one we're going to talk about is positive self-talk. So talking positively about yourself is really key to having good self-esteem. Obviously, if you are putting yourself down, you're talking negative about yourself, then your self-esteem is going to be affected, and that's showing really how you feel about yourself. So making sure that you're talking positively about yourself and reminding yourself that you're beautiful, or you're handsome, or you're smart, or you have really pretty eyes, or you like your hair, or you're really good at math, or you're really good at English. Any of those kind of things is really important for you to have positive self-talk about yourself. So be just as supportive to yourself as you would be to your best friend, right? So you're obviously, if your best friend's being down on themselves, you're obviously not going to be like, yeah, you do suck, right? You're going to tell them, no, like, I love you. You're my best friend. You're an amazing person. If I didn't think you were an amazing person, I wouldn't be friends with you, right? If you were a mean person, then I wouldn't be hanging out with you, kind of thing, right? And really give yourself a pep talk on those hard days. So if you know that there's a test coming up and you're really nervous about it, give yourself a pep talk, or write little sticky notes, reminding yourself of, how much of a wonderful person you are. I actually do that a lot for my partner and I write little notes and stick them around the house. That one actually says, you are smart and capable. And it's just a good reminder to have for yourself every so often, and to really see those on days when you're not having, the best feelings about yourself, or you're worried about something. Just having that little reminder is really important. So the next one we're going to talk about is affirmations. Again, we've seen this word a lot. We've heard people talk about positive affirmations, but sometimes people struggle to really figure out what that is. So an affirmation is basically a positive affirmation to something small and kind that you say to yourself. So this could be something like, you are smart, you are kind, you are special, you are loved, and you can make a difference. Often we hear people quoting from the movie The Help, or the book The Help, people saying, you is kind, you is smart, and you is beautiful, right? Because that is what one of the main characters in the movie and in the book says to her the child that she's looking after, the little girl whose mom isn't really around very much or who puts her down. So just reminding yourself to say positive things to yourself, right? And eventually, when you constantly say those things to yourself, you actually start to believe it and feel it. So if you look in the mirror every day and tell yourself, 5 to 10 times, I am smart, I am beautiful, I can make a difference, and you repeat those things to yourself multiple times, it's eventually going to start sinking in, and you're going to start feeling that way. You're going to start feeling like you can make a difference. You're going to start noticing those beautiful aspects of yourself, right? And putting all those things together. So mindfulness, this again is something that is really, really important, and we've become more aware in the last, I would say, even 10 years of just how important mindfulness is. Mindfulness has been around for a really long time. It's been part of lots of Asian cultures for a really long time, and part of their religions as well. So what is mindfulness exactly? Again, a word we hear a lot. So it has many different aspects, and what works for one person may not work for another. So what works for me when I'm doing a mindful practice is really taking a slow flowing yoga class, right? So when I want to do a workout, I'll do a faster paced yoga class, or I'll do an intense yoga class, right? But when I'm really just trying to be mindful and be aware of, what's going on around me, and to calm myself and center myself, I take a slow moving yoga class and just relax through it. That doesn't work for everyone. Some people hate yoga, right? So some other things that you can do is mindful eating, which is actually really important, especially if you're going to be around family and stuff like that. So mindful eating is really just being aware of what is on your plate, being aware of the smells, the tastes, the texture of the food, and really appreciating the food that you have in front of you, right? And this can also be a really helpful thing to practice if you are trying to manage your weight, trying to manage certain health conditions such as diabetes or obesity. Mindful eating can be play a really big part in this, right? And this means not having the TV on while you're eating dinner, or making the dinner, right? If you're someone who doesn't actively make dinner, making the food that you're about to eat can be a real big part of mindful eating. The next one is mindful meditation. Again, won't work for everyone. I find it really difficult to do meditation, right? So I try and spend, about 5 minutes, but that's kind of my limit, right? I know that I'm not someone who can sit there for 20 minutes to an hour doing silent meditation, right? But for some people, mindful meditation is something that's really important to them and really, really helps them calm their mind. And there are different apps that you can use to follow along with mindful meditation. Some of these apps include things like Headspace or Calm or FitOn, any of those kind of things that can lead you through a guided meditation if you're new to the mindful meditation. Another thing is a body scan. So a body scan might sound kind of strange, but basically what it is you lie down and you have your arms and your legs just kind of laid out beside you in a really comfortable, peaceful position. And you just go through and scan your body and remind yourself, okay, in my shoulders, I can feel tension. So I'm going to release that tension. I'm going to breathe into that. In my fingertips, I can feel tingling. So I'm going to breathe into my fingers. I can feel, pain in my back. So I'm going to focus on that for a minute and really try and breathe into that and focus on all the things that my body does for me, right? And again, there's different apps that you can follow along to a guided body scan. So again, things like FitOn and Calm and Headspace have them, along with MindShift has body scans that you can do. I've done a couple body scans with MindShift, and I find it really relaxing, actually, because it only takes 5-10 minutes to do, but it can be really peaceful and help you acknowledge where you're keeping that tension and to release that tension out of you. Again, yoga, I already talked about and how that can be helpful. A walking meditation, so going outside, being in nature, walking through the forest, and really acknowledging all the different things that are around you. So acknowledging the smell of the trees or the flowers or the dirt. And then acknowledging the sound of the wind in the trees, acknowledging the sound of the birds in the air, or water that is around you. Just going for that walk with the sole purpose of finding peace and relaxation. Mindful breathing, again, is another one that a lot of people are familiar with, and you can do mindful breathing in shapes. You can do mindful breathing in things of nature like flowers and stuff like that. There's multiple different ways you can do mindful breathing, and again, any of those apps that I've mentioned, you can follow along with, and they have some great mindful breathing exercises. And the last one that a lot of people actually find really helpful, myself included, is doing 5 senses exercises. So a lot of people know the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 5 senses, which is where you notice 5 things around you that have to do with I can't remember if it's scent first, but you go through the things, and it's you go through all of your 5 senses, and you list going from 5 to 1 of the different things around you, right? So 1 is taste. So name 1 thing you can taste, right? Some other 5 senses exercises that are becoming popular, or people are starting to acknowledge, is doing things with the alphabet, right? So going from A to Z and finding something in your surroundings that goes with each letter, and then you can either touch that thing or just look at that thing, but that is part of your senses as well, right? Or finding a color wheel and going around and finding something that matches the color of everything on that color wheel, right? So in your surroundings, whether it's your house or outside or your office, just going through and finding something that matches every one of those colors, right? Is a good way to kind of use your senses to relax and ground yourself to the moment. So the next one we're going to talk about is self-reflection. Again, this is really, really important, especially if you're in a field like social work or HR or psychology or therapy or any of those kind of things where you're really interacting with a lot of people. You've probably had to practice self-reflection before. For those of you who have never practiced self-reflection or are unsure about what it is, basically, self-reflection is a habit of deliberately paying attention to your own thoughts, emotions, decisions, and behaviors. So it's taking time to think back on your day and evaluate those behaviors and thoughts and feelings and decisions that you've had throughout your day. So this can be done through journaling. This can be done just through silent meditation. This can be done by having a conversation with someone and saying, you know what, let me reflect on how I behaved in this situation, right? So if you had an argument with someone, really pausing and reflecting on that and, acknowledging to yourself, did I handle that in the best possible way that I could have? Did I hurt that person's feelings when I was disagreeing with them? All of those kind of things. It's really important to go through your day every so often and just reflect. And this doesn't have to be a daily thing. It can be a daily thing, but it's definitely something that should be done on a weekly basis. This one is, again, a word that we hear about all the time, but a lot of people have no idea what active self-care is, right? And self-care isn't just, okay, I've had a long day, I'm going to sit and watch a show, right? That can be part of self-care, but it's not what we call active self-care. So self-care is exactly what it sounds like. It's caring for yourself. So this is different for everyone, and it's really important that you acknowledge that, because what works for me might not work for you, just like mindfulness. What works for your family members might not work for you. The list goes on, right? So it's really important to find what works for you, but to also try new things, right? If it's something that you haven't really actively done before, try some new things. Try it 2 or 3 times before you give up on it and say, not really for me, right? One of my favorite things to do for self-care is doing a yoga class, whether it's a yoga flow or a yoga meditation, going through and doing some yoga. And then another one that I love to do is taking a bath, right? Throwing in those Epsom salts and throwing in some essential oils, and really just taking time to relax and embrace that moment of doing absolutely nothing, right? So some other things you can do is plan a spa day, right? And this is something that can be done at home. It doesn't have to be going out and paying a lot of money to do a spa day. You can create your own, home spa kits, right? And there's plenty of ideas on Pinterest or on the internet in general to help you create your own face masks, your own foot masks, your body scrubs, all of those kind of things, right? And just taking a day. And this can be something that you even do with friends or with family, whether you're male, female, non-binary. These things can be done together, right? And embracing that relaxation of everything that's included in a spa day. It can include going for a walk, watching your favorite show or movie. But remember, if you're going to do that one, make sure that you're actively doing self-care included in that, right? So sometimes if you've had a bad day, you just want to watch a funny show, right? And that's perfectly okay. I know that one of my favorite things to do is watch Ridiculousness, for example, because it's a funny show that can make me laugh and take my mind off things for a little while until I've calmed down, and then go back to whatever it was that was frustrating me. Or if I don't need to go back to it, I don't. I just let it go out of my mind and focus on something else. So self-care is really, really important for building your self-esteem and keeping yourself at a decent self-esteem, because if you don't practice self-care, you may become burnt out, and that really affects everything in your life when you go through burnout. And burnout can last anywhere from a month to 2 years. So it's really important to focus on actively participating in self-care and taking time for yourself, where you're not glued to your phone, you're not having anyone be dependent on you for work activities or home activities. It's just time for you to relax. So the next one we have is setting goals. Now, this may seem like a strange thing for me to say, but I'm going to explain why. So setting SMART goals and following through with them, or setting any kind of goal and following through with them, actually boosts your self-esteem. So if your goal was to, even as something simple as, I want to get out of bed at a certain time, I want to shower and make myself a healthy breakfast. If that was your goal for the day and you hit it, it actually boosts your morale and boosts your self-esteem, right? So they don't have to be super complicated goals. A lot of the time when people think about goals, they tell me that they're thinking about, okay, well, I want to, graduate high school, or graduate my college program, or my bachelor degree, or my master's degree in this amount of time. And I want to make sure that I have I make the dean's list, or I make honor roll, and, setting those kind of goals for them, which, can sometimes put a lot of pressure on yourself. So while those are great goals to have, I'm not saying anything against them. It is really important to have goals that you know for sure you can accomplish, because accomplishing those small goals will eventually boost your self-esteem and boost your morale. So having a SMART goal means that it's specific, measurable, obtainable, realistic, and time-bound. So the really important ones that I want to focus on here are realistic and time-bound, right? So if you say, oh, well, eventually I'm going to lose 20 pounds. Well, that's not really being all that specific. It's not being time-bound. It might not necessarily be obtainable, right? Or realistic for your body size, or your metabolism, or your health, right? So making sure that you set a goal with a specific timeline, whether that's a goal for work. So in the next month, I have this task set out for me by my supervisor or my manager, and I'm going to make sure that by the end of the month, so by July 30th or 31st, I can't remember how many days are in this month, I'm going to make sure that I have my outline handed in for this task that my supervisor wants me to do, and I'm going to make sure that I followed through on one of the steps laid out in the task, and I'm going to make sure that my supervisor is there to kind of guide me along the way and handing in a progress report as we go throughout the month, right? That would be something that is, definitely obtainable, definitely realistic. It's time bound, it's measurable, and it's specific, right? So keeping all of those things in mind, whether it's a big goal or a small goal, make sure that they are specific, time bound, and realistic. So this is my last point for today's building self-esteem kind of presentation, and it's the importance of having good friends. This may sound like something that is, really simplistic. It may sound really basic, but it's actually not. There's a lot of people that really struggle with surrounding themselves with positive influences and positive people in their lives. So having a good friend is really key to building your self-esteem and keeping your self-esteem high. So ensuring that you have friends that make you feel that you are important, feel good about yourself, helps you continue to have those feelings even when your friends aren't side by side with you saying, you know what, you did really well, I love you, you're great, you're awesome, right? Kind of as your cheer team. But also ensure that you are one of those good friends. So compliment your friends. Tell your friends that you love them. We often have this, for some reason, a stigma almost around telling people we love them. So telling your friends that you love them and they're important to you. Don't let that come into your mind, right? It's really important. How good do you feel when your friends say how important you are or that they love you? You feel it just boosts your confidence. So make sure that you're doing that for them as well, right? And be there for them when they're struggling, right? If they're struggling with different things going on at school or at home or with their identity, then let them talk it out with you, right? And you may not always have the right answers, but sometimes people really just need someone to listen to. And if you're ever kind of wondering, okay, someone confided, this in me, do I keep it to myself or do I tell someone? It's probably best to have that conversation with an adult that you trust, or with your therapist, or with your counselor, any of those kind of people. But yeah, really just making sure that you're surrounded by people who are lifting you up rather than tearing you down. Don't have friends that are trying to be competitive with you, and don't be competitive with your friends just because one of your friends maybe got a 90 on something and you only got a 70 or a 60. That's okay. We're all different. And, if you're going to college and they're going to university, or you're studying different programs, right? That's okay too. Not everyone is going to be good at the same things. I know for myself, I am terrible at math, but I have friends who are in the health sciences or who are in biology, and they are really, really good at it. And I could never do that. But I don't compare myself to them because I'm really good at other things, right? So where they may help me with certain math and science courses that I have to do, I can help them with their social work courses, with their humanities courses, with their English courses, right? So knowing that we all have different talents, we all can't be great at everything is really important. And having friends that are that surround you, that acknowledge that as well, and can, take that and move forward with it, and are there to support you when you do really well, but also are there to support you when you're feeling down because you didn't do so well. So just keeping all of those things in mind is really, really important. So what are we to take away from this lesson is that building self-esteem may take time, first of all, right? But you got to stop the negative self-talk. That is key to building your self-esteem, right? Whether you're complaining about the way your body looks or your intelligence or your living situation, whatever it may be, you got to stop it, because that is just going to tear you down even further. And when other people compliment you, it's going to make it harder for you to accept it because you've told yourself the opposite for so long. So stop the negative self-talk and start the positive self-talk. Do something for others, right? Whether this is being a good friend or volunteering, this is actually proven to boost your self-esteem when you do things for other people, right? And that can be something as simple as buying a coffee for the person behind you, a complete stranger maybe, or volunteering at the Journey Neighborhood Center, or volunteering at your local church, or whatever your faith community may be. Doing something for others actually makes you feel better about yourself and can boost your self-esteem. The other thing that's important to do is manage your expectations. If you're someone who doesn't always get 90 to 100 on something, don't set a goal that you get a 90% on every single assignment, right? That's just not managing your expectations well. And if you don't, then you might be disappointed, right? Or if you're someone who's never run a 5K before, you're not just going to get up and go run that 5K, right? You have to really set different goals to get to that ultimate goal, and manage those expectations of, okay, I'm not going to be able to get off the couch today and run 5K if I've never done it before, but you know what? I may be able to run to the corner and back a couple times, or run around the block, and that's, a great start for me. Stop saying sorry. This may sound so weird, and I know with myself, I apologize all the time for everything, but I'm working on it. So stop apologizing for having feelings. Stop apologizing for being upset by something. Stop feeling bad that you may not be an A+ student, or you're not able to give all of your time to everyone else, right? Don't apologize for that. You're human. You're allowed to be sad. You're allowed to have negative emotions. And you don't have to necessarily apologize for having negative emotions, but make sure that you're not spreading those negative emotions, right? I know, especially women, there's been multiple studies done that we tend to say sorry more often. And I have definitely been one of those people who has said sorry for saying sorry. And I know there's probably one or two of you that are watching this that have done this as well, and have been in that situation where someone's been like, stop apologizing. You don't need to apologize. And you're like, oh, sorry, right? It's just kind of a natural habit often. And we get this, kind of bubble as Canadians where we are always told that we're always saying sorry, right? So managing how much you say sorry is really important, because saying sorry actually has a lot of value into it, right? And apologizing has a lot of value in it. But if we're overusing it and we're apologizing for just being human, for having human emotions, for making a mistake that, we really didn't mean to do, then we're going to be down on ourselves, and other people may not feel like our apologies are sincere anymore. So really managing how you say sorry and when you say sorry is really important. And this doesn't mean that you have to never say sorry again, but just watch when you say sorry and what you're saying sorry for. The other thing is stop comparing yourself to others. This is something so many of us do, and I've talked about it already today. And a lot of the time when we start comparing ourselves to others, we get down upon ourselves, right? Because we're not comparing ourselves to people that are at the same level of us, or maybe aren't doing as well as us. We're comparing ourselves to people that are doing really well in whatever their field may be, whatever their education may be. Maybe comparing ourselves to celebrities and their the way their body looks, or comparing ourselves to the clothes that they have, or any of those kind of things, right? And it's not healthy for us to do that, right? We aren't all going to look like a Kardashian, and we don't all want to look like a Kardashian, right? We're not all going to look like J-Lo or Jennifer Aniston when we're in our 50s, right? They have money that allows them to do certain things that we can't do, right? But we can manage how we look at others and how we look at ourselves. So don't compare yourselves to others. We're all on our own journey. We are all beautiful in our own ways. We all have different body types. And if we were all the same, life would be pretty boring, right? So just managing how you do that and how you look at others and look at yourself is really important. And then pay attention to how you come off to other people. If you're coming off as negative and rude and a downer all the time, then people may not want to be around you as much, right? So just think about who you want to surround yourself with, right? You don't want to surround yourself with someone who's always negative, who's always, belittling themselves. You want to surround yourself with people who are positive and upbeat and, bring something to the table. So just be aware of how you are presenting yourself to others and how they feel. And that can even just be by doing a check-in with your friends every so often, right? And saying, you know what, have I been a good friend lately? I know a lot of businesses, they have check-ins with their employees and stuff like that. So even asking, your manager, am I meeting expectations? Is there anything I can work on? Am I coming off as a good person to work with and to be around? Because we all know that there's been that person in our lives that we're like, you know what, I really don't want to be around you right now because this is just bumming me out, or you're just being rude, or you're being ignorant. And we don't want to be that person. So checking in with friends, families, employers, supervisors, any of those kind of things is really important so that you can acknowledge how you're coming off to others and maybe adapt what you're doing, or ask them if there's anything that you can do to improve how you're coming off to other people is really, really important. So that is it for my presentation today. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope that you found it educational, and I'm hoping I can put on some more presentations for you all and that you can find them beneficial in some way. So that is it for me today, and I look forward to seeing you all later.